Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Oh, yeah. Woo! I know, it's some kind of a universal plot to make an optimist out of me. Is that what's going on? Not that I believe in conspiracy theories. Good morning. It's November 9, the day after. Whew. Yiko, guys. I've been trying to think of what the right adjective is to describe my reaction. I'm not ecstatic. I'm always, seeing negatives. I am relieved. I am heartened. I think that's the honestly how I feel. And man, this woman could use being heartened. It feels good. I was anxiety binge eating all night, and yet I feel lighter. Ooh. I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna throw myself on your mercy today. I'm soliciting your input more than I normally do because my guess is some of you have been watching I have not been watching commentators like this morning or anything. I've just been digesting, what numbers there are and seeing what's happened. But some of you might know a lot more than I do. So please feel free to call and email me liberally. Okay? Because it appears the people of the United States of America are not inclined to fade away and allow these lunatic fascists to just take over. I don't know. It feels that way, doesn't it? It was a real pushback in a lot of places. A lot of pushback. And it was high turnout on both sides. But when we turn out, because there's more of us, we win. And I just want to do a shout of gratitude to the voters in Allegheny County who are amazing, and Pennsylvania. Unlike Ohio, to our west, we, I think, have decided we are not going to become a bright red state. And the evidence, the things that point to that, obviously, are the win by Josh Shapiro as governor of Pennsylvania. Because Pennsylvanians, and I think since I've lived here, well, maybe not, but almost, it's been a long time. What Pennsylvanians have always done, much to my dismay, is they elect a governor of one party, and they usually reelect him for a second term. It's always a him. And then they elect somebody of the other party. That's just the way it goes. It's been a long time, and I don't know how long, since Pennsylvania voters have said yes to the same party 3 elections in a row when it comes to the governor's position. So after 2 years of a Democrat, Tom Wolf, they have said yes to Josh Shapiro. Oh, and I'm sorry. I'm just going to do a quick aside to my producer. If that was an attempt to, talked to me, it was it came into my ear as a indecipherable mumble. That's all I'm saying. Okay. And that did too. Oh, that worked. Okay. I'm being told I have a caller. We've come up with this, and Kevin, I thank you for it. We figured out that he can now just tell me in my ear when you're on the phone, as opposed to me not noticing because on my screen. So we have a caller. And since I asked you to call, I shouldn't keep you waiting, even though I've hardly begun to talk. But caller, whoever you are, go ahead.
I want to just say, didn't I tell you they do better than you thought they did? So that's all I want to say. I told you that with Obama. 3 times you didn't believe me. Well, you're going to start believing me when I say something. All right. And Michael Moore was right, wasn't he? So don't get all, I just don't believe saying I'm going to lose until I fight. That's how I always was brought up. That's all I got to say.
All right. That's
you have a
fine,
good day.
Dandy. I deserve it.
Okay, goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. I don't mind being wrong when if I'd been right, I would have been miserable. Believe me. I did want to say this, though, because I'm still who I am. I mean, even if I am slightly more optimistic today. But Shapiro, I read this, that one of the things he said upon speaking after his victory, he said the thing that always annoys me. As you know, I'm always annoyed when people who've gotten an award or won an election, the first thing they say is, I'm humbled. When that is not true. It's rarely, if ever, true. They're proud as hell. They're bursting their buttons. They're high-fiving. They're unpopping champagne corks. They ain't humble. That's not humble behavior. So, I mean, we don't understand the word, or we think it's kind of a virtue signal. Even though I'm feeling on top of the world, I am going to say I'm humbled. So Shapiro actually said, and I'll credit him with this, but if he thinks about it later, he'll realize he sort of canceled himself out. He said, quote, I'm humbled and proud to be your next governor. Well, governor elect, you got to pick one. You can't be humble and proud. You can't. Or words have lost all meaning, okay? Pride and humility are opposites. Excuse me. Words, precious words. Okay, so he's humbled and proud, which shows that, he's, I don't know, ambidextrous? Whatever. So there's that. Chris says, I'm laughing at all the Trumpers on Facebook saying things like, stick a fork in it, we're done. And how many saying they're moving out of the state? I say, bye now. Are they? They're miserable, are they? Because the Republicans really got creamed in Pennsylvania. Now, we don't know. I mean, and this is we're holding out hope. We don't know a lot of races for the legislature. But let's just say this. The Republicans did not improve their numbers in either the state Senate or the state House. I think Democrats still have a slight chance, and this would be this would be, even I would start sounding, ecstatic. There's a slight chance that if everything breaks our way, that we Democrats can maybe take the state House. But that's really, I don't think, going to happen. But what it suggests is that in 24, in 2 years, maybe we can continue. And it's not as though other states that look sort of like us, Michigan, for instance, Michigan, purple state. Michigan, like Pennsylvania, one of the states that's always figuring mightily in presidential elections. Michigan, where the lunatics have been, well, they tried to kidnap the governor. They showed up at the state legislature in camo and carrying AR-15s. And the lunatics there are extraordinary, much like ours. But as far as I can garner from what I have seen of the outcome in Michigan, they, the loons, the Trumpies, the deniers, got creamed. As far as I've been able to see, all statewide offices in Michigan went Democrat, and I believe they flipped both houses of their legislature. It's a totally locked-in blue state right now, Michigan. So, would somebody explain the red wave to me again? Is somebody colorblind or something? That's a red wave? I don't want to be too ecstatic here, seriously, because a lot of horrible people won election last night and still could. I am sick about the closeness of the Georgia Senate race. It is absolutely beyond my comprehension how any human could decide to, given a choice of this extraordinarily smart, good, well, Reverend Warnock and this violent, illiterate, lying, crazy person, Herschel Walker, that there would be who decides, oh, I have these two to choose from. Well, that there is still a chance that Herschel Walker could be in the Senate of the United States is just appalling. There's enough horrible, horrible people there, and enough horrible Republicans who were reelected. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking of Lee in Utah, God, and in Kentucky, blah, what's his name? That vile creep. I'm just absolutely blanking on his name. It's okay. Don't even tell me. I know you know it, and I know it. But for some reason, my brain is saying, you don't have to think about him. Let it go. Charles Grassley, who's like 172 years old. Okay, so I'm, like a lot of you, I am sleep deprived. I did not sleep last night. And I have to admit, I'm not real well organized right now. By the way, Dr. Oz called John Fetterman about a half hour ago and did the right thing. So there's that. And I'm appreciative. He conceded and did whatever you do when you lose. Speaking of losing, and I think I mentioned Ohio and then lost my train of thought. Good God. What a difference a state line makes. That wonderful Tim Ryan, beaten by the loathsome, I know I overused the word, Vance. Wow. They're just gone. But it's interesting. So these states that, are right here in our, so Michigan is teetering and it goes blue. Pennsylvania is teetering and it goes, pretty blue. Not like Michigan, but pretty blue. Wisconsin, my home state, I can't even look. Johnson is ahead, but it's too close to call. And the Democratic governor won, but I haven't seen a count there about whether or not it makes any difference, because if all of the Republicans that were supposed to have flipped Democratic seats in their state legislature won, then they're going to control the government, because they'll have a veto-proof state government. So you can have a Democrat as governor, and it's just he can cut ribbons and make protestations, but he'll have no power. And that was a distinct possibility, I understand, I think, and probably in a lot of states, but I also know North Carolina. And North Carolina dodged that bullet last night. They did not create a Republican veto-proof legislature. Yeah, and Allison points out that, Tim Ryan, Stacey Abrams, they did what honorable people do. They conceded that they had lost. They did not say that it was rigged. And it just seems to me that I think part of what happened yesterday is there's more Americans who appreciate that and just don't want the crazy that comes with this new neo-fascist Republican Party. They don't want it. So we're still waiting with bated breath because nothing's assured in the Congress right now. Looking like the Democrats will hold the Senate, but it's not a done deal. And looking like the Republicans will probably take the House, but by a slim, very slim margin, which suggests that there's going to be even more chaos than I was anticipating, because a Republican Party controlling with a slim majority the House will be at war with itself, at war with all the norms of the institution, and it will not be in the it will not be in lockstep. It's going to be a just crazy place. And, you got to wonder, Kevin McCarthy since he has no backbone, we know that, this is unproven. He's not the person that can lead this fractious bunch of fascists. There's no way. So that's going to be insanity. I think he's toast. But geez, man, the North Hills, I'm getting local here. There were Democrats winning all over the place, and women, whoa, and black women, whoa. Summer Lee, Latasha Hayes, whoa. It's really something. Thank God. I was so nervous about this DeLuzio-Schaefer race. No problem. They held Connor Lamb's district. The Democrats. DeLuzio held it. Connor Lamb, of course, losing it when he decided to try to be the senator running in the primary against Fetterman. So, wow. I don't know what to say. I mean, I'm just babbling off the top of my head. Oh, there's one other thing that I'm aware that's happening. I'm very nervous about some of those horrible fascist women out in the West, like Carrie Lake. Last numbers I saw were tight, scary tight. She's running for governor of Arizona, as I'm sure you know. And she's Trump with polish and a vagina. And Boebert is locked in a tight race, too tight to call. So, but my understanding is the votes that are uncounted tend to come from strong Republican areas. So odds are she'll squeak it out, which is too bad. But it's just good to know that she at least got scared to death last night. Chris says maybe the red wave was meant to be a gesture, waving goodbye to Donald Trump. Well, there it is. Donald Trump. Boy, he's crying in his post-toasties this morning. With DeSantis clearly showing that he owns Florida and looking strong. God. Trump must be beside himself. And so many of, I guess, Trump's endorsed, I don't know. I don't care. His endorsed candidates, Oz obviously lost, but Vance won. I mean, I don't know. But it wasn't a good night for Trump. Because he's the putative leader of the party that was supposed to sweep these elections and did not do so. As a matter of fact, let's remember that as a midterm election, it turns out Joe Biden in his first midterm election has fared better than any Democratic president in my memory. Hell, better than Obama, Clinton. There were we lost seats left, right, and center. And yeah. So, hey, Joe, let him keep underestimating you. Way to go, buddy. He's feeling good today. Man. Oh. So, yeah, thank God. Just thank God. Gigi writes, I didn't realize how anxious I was about this election. I attended an interfaith election night vigil last night, which was quite calming. I only listened to 90.5 last night, NPR. I couldn't take the circus of TV coverage. Oh, wait, I got to tell you this. I watched the circus with a woman who doesn't own a television. And I looked over at her at one point and I saw she was staring transfixed at the screen. Now, this is this amazing woman, the Holocaust, the woman who goes into the prisons, and she's one of the most amazing teachers I've ever seen. And she's amazing. But she lives this very sort of ascetic, Spartan existence, mostly because she's poor. And she's been staying with me for a bit. And she was watching last night, and I saw, she said, I can't take my eyes. She was blown away. She had never seen what they do, the circus, the graphics, I couldn't believe who said, with a straight face, what's his name said, and now we'll go over to the magic wall. That was CNN. The magic wall. how do you even say that with a straight face? But so it was interesting to see her just marvel at the fact that they take something as important as this election and make it into a production that you can't take your eyes off of. And where there's so much input, if you're not into whatever graphic they're showing you there, don't worry, there's all this other information spewing at you in the bottom quarter of your screen. And that just keeps changing and changing. And so it was interesting to watch somebody who had not seen what television news has become. That it's just another show. And the whole idea, as I watched it, is to keep you on the edge of your seat. Even more so than you would be if they just very soberly gave you the numbers that they had. Because they give you numbers upon demographics, upon this. They go to this person who says this thing. And if things are looking okay, they always find a way to make you nervous again. Or if you're down in the dumps, they have something that makes you. So the reason being, what? So you'll stay watching, your heart pounding. Right. And so I appreciate, because I can't take it. I did not watch much. I think I threw in the towel around 10. So I appreciate, Gigi, you taking care to not subject yourself to that. She says, I shouted with joy when Fetterman won. I attempted to go to bed before I knew he'd won, but I decided he was going to win, so I went to bed. I didn't sleep well, but I went to bed anyway. And the wins kept coming, says Gigi. Certain states in the South make me shake my head, but there are good results in a lot of places where it was iffy. Phew, what a relief. And yes, I'm sleep deprived too. Cheers to the no red wave. But listen, this does make us, we should stop and think. Who told us there was a red wave? And why did that become fact? Why was that the prophecy on every front? Right? All the pundits, all of our newspapers, reliable sources. They were wrong. They were wrong. So what's that about? And doesn't that make you think? I don't know. I was going to say that you're all alone. There's nobody to listen to. Yeah, everything you hear you should take with a grain of salt. But then you would just join, I don't know. I have no answers. None. Chuck writes, Republicans may still take the House, but not by very much, right? If they have a 5 to 10 seat majority. And I suspect that's what it'll end up being, right? About that. A 5 to 10, maybe even less. And by the way, just want to say for those of you who are like totally crazed optimists, that there is still, I believe, there is a chance that the Democrats could hold the House. Not sure one, but I mean, it's statistically not impossible. Chuck writes, if the Republicans take the House and they have a 5 to 10 seat majority, small subgroups of them, like, the loons, Marjorie Taylor Greene et al., will have great influence on the speaker. I agree. That's why I don't think that my guess is what's his name, the spineless guy, Kevin McCarthy, even if he is elected speaker initially, he can't last. He couldn't stand up to Marjorie Taylor Greene in a knife fight. No way. I don't know. They could never put her in that, but they could put somebody a little more polished. But the way Chuck's looking at it is Marjorie Taylor Greene could be the GOP's new Joe Manchin. In other words, somebody, well, she wouldn't be alone. There's a whole big knot of these guys. A sizable part of the current Republican House contingent are election deniers. They're loons. They're crazies. They're fascists. So that's not a little small group. I don't know. Chuck also writes, DeSantis will beat Trump in a primary if it goes to that. Yeah, maybe. But see, here's the thing. Here's what I'm guessing. Maybe. But don't count out what a primary like that would do is just rip that party apart. I'd much rather have them turn all that animus, vitriol, revengefulness, and lunacy on each other than on the rest of us. So I hope they go for it. I hope there is a bloody primary. I don't mean literally bloody primary. Yeah, Trump must be very unhappy. And the thing is, he won't go away. So even if there is a primary in 24 that, let's say, DeSantis wins, does Trump then support him as the Republican nominee? I don't see that. Do you? I don't see him accepting anything like that. He couldn't tolerate it. He couldn't abide it. So he wouldn't just go away. Trump will never just go away. He either has to, be perp walked into a jail or he's got to drop dead. But he ain't going away. So then that brings up the possibility of Trump as a spoiler in a general election, running as an independent or something. I can't imagine it because that would allow 90-year-old Joe Biden to walk in. Oh, jeez. Let's not forget we don't have a strong candidate. Okay, I'm sorry, Chuck. You're trying to have your say, and I keep interrupting every sentence. So you say DeSantis will beat Trump in the primary if it goes to that, and the exit polls show that Democrats are overwhelmingly opposed to having Biden run again. So where does that leave us? Well, see, I don't have a clue. With this showing, this better than historical precedent would have suggested showing in this primary, I think Biden will be more inclined to run. And who's going to tell him he can't? I don't know. Good morning, says Milton. He's writing from Ohio. God, poor Milton. Good morning. Tim Ryan never stood a chance here. This is a solid red state and has been since I moved here in 2011. We, thankfully, already have Sherrod Brown in the Senate. Now, how is that possible, though? Will you explain that to me? These Trumpers have one of the most liberal. Sherrod Brown represents Ohio, the deep red state of Ohio. I don't understand it. I mean, God bless him, but how is that? When's he up next? Because next time he's up, that could be a flip to the Republicans. Anyway, The idea that Ohio would send another Democrat to the Senate was always a pipe dream. Yeah, I mean, I know. Yeah, can you imagine they'd have Sherrod Brown and Tim Ryan? Wow. And Milt, schooling us in Ohio politics, says made even more unattainable by the weak sacrificial lamb Nan Whaley at the top of the Democratic ticket as the gubernatorial candidate. Milt says, what I'm loving is the fact that after 50 years of railing against Roe, oh yeah, I haven't gotten to that, and a total corruption of the balance of the Supreme Court by literally stealing 2 seats, it was the Dobbs decision that swayed so many races in favor of the Democrats. It's almost as though the GOP aborted themselves. Good turn of phrase there, Milt. Or at least their quest for total legislative control at the federal level. Today is a good day. Yeah. I got a call, so let's hear from you. Hi.
Hello, Lynn. It's Dave from Washington again.
Yeah, Dave. So what do you think?
Well, I am shocked. I am very, very happy, and I'm surprised as all hell, and I'll be the first one to admit I was totally wrong. I misjudged this. I thought for sure it was going to be a terrible, terrible day. I think, talking about Biden and so many people not wanting Biden to run again, I think people need to reevaluate that. If it was not for 2 things, inflation and the exile of Afghanistan, he has had an extremely successful 2 years. Those are the only 2 marks against him. You can't blame him for Manchin and Sinema holding up his agenda. He still got most of that through. And, if Trump wants to go ahead and announce in a couple of days that he's running, fine. Biden will announce a couple of days later that he's running too and steal that thunder. And he beat him once. We'll beat him again.
He actually, he's beat him twice. You could say Biden beat Trump again last night.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for the Republicans, so I think we need to start reevaluating Joe Biden.
Okay.
Yeah, he looks goofy, but look at everything he's gotten done. And like I said,
I agree with you.
If it wasn't for those 2 black guys, this would have been. Imagine if inflation was not an issue right now. Imagine what would have happened last night. You talk about a wave. Would have been amazing. Also, the 2 that really amaze me are Summerlee and DeLuzio, because boy, did they spend a lot of money here in this corner of the state trying to smear those 2, and they both won pretty soundly.
Yes.
Just because.
Yeah, a lot of Republican money went down the drain, and let us, now that you bring that up, let us all pause to thank the Lord that we will not have to listen or watch any more ads for a while.
Year and a half. Yeah, no kidding. Right. Boy, I was sick and tired of them. I think that might have been as much as anything. People just got sick and tired of them. Soft on crime, socialism. That didn't work. So I'm very happy. Shocked, but very happy, and happy to say that I was wrong. Okay.
Yeah. Well, me too. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Bye. And, I have to tell you, in regard to abortion, which Milt brought up, I don't remember all the states, but there were a number of states that had on their ballot a constitutional provision that would be put in place to protect the right to abortion. And my understanding is that in every state that those things were on the ballot, it won. That was another win in Michigan. It's now in their constitution. I'm a little confused because I remember hearing about Kentucky, I think of as an extremely red state, that Kentucky, the voters, I think they had in front of them a constitutional amendment to their state constitution that would have denied any right to abortion. I think it was the opposite of what the other states were doing. And I think that lost. Now, I also think that Kentucky is a state where you can't get an abortion. But I think what the voters, even in that red state, said, we're not putting it in the state constitution. Which is what the Kansas voters also did right after Roe, something akin to that. And then I couldn't help but notice that Kansans, also a red state, reelected a Democratic woman as their governor. Gosh. And, I think if somebody, looks at this more clearly, it could well be that the seats that the Republicans have managed to hold or win have been gotten because of gerrymandering. And that's that. That's it. I know if Wisconsin totally falls, its legislature, into their hands, it is because the gerrymandering in Wisconsin has been unbelievable and extremely effective. I suspect that's how Ohio turned as red as it did, gerrymandering. We got lucky here in that our Supreme Court stepped in and quashed the Pennsylvania Republicans' efforts to gerrymander us out of our votes. And instead, there was that state commission that was appointed with, I believe, Mark Nordenberg, the former chancellor of the University of Pittsburgh, at its head. And they redrew, an impartial panel redrew what they thought were like, this is how it looks, nonpartisan. We're just going to do this and not think about Republicans and Democrats. And in fact, it probably helped because the Republicans had gerrymandered things. It probably is why Democrats, now that things were put sort of back where they belonged, that Democrats have picked up seats in the state legislature. Because the Republican attempt to rig the election through the gerrymandering was not successful here as it was in other states like Wisconsin and Ohio. Unfortunately, we have a Supreme Court of the United States that is disinclined to support these efforts to pull partisan gerrymandering back. So we'll see. We'll see. Somebody, did they retweet this or what? Let me see. Again, talking about media and how wrong they can be. Okay, so this is, now, if you think of the New Yorker, actually, I subscribe to the New Yorker. It's one of the few print magazines I still get. I used to get so many. And it's crazy. I can get it all online. But first of all, I love the New Yorker. I just love looking at them. I love the cartoons. It's like people who had Playboy subscriptions saying, well, I just really, really like the articles and the interviews. Really good. But the New Yorker, I think of as a relatively progressive publication. And yet somebody put out, so that I saw it again, this big piece they did that was first put out November 4th. Okay, so 4 or 5 days ago. And it was truly a total regurgitation of every Republican operative talking point about the election. And to read it now, after this reality of this election, which still, by the way, we got to remember, we got to hope that what we've seen thus far continues as we head into these tighter races. But this New Yorker story is titled, "Why Republican Insiders Think the GOP is Poised for a Blowout." A bloodbath is the word for the Democratic Party. And, you wonder, so the guy who wrote this, Benjamin Wallace Wells, he must be, what is he feeling like today? And I suspect what he would do is say, hey, look, I made quite clear all I was doing was telling my readers what the Republicans thought, that they were feeling really confident, which is true. They were. But there was so much of this kind of reporting that those of us who ingest reports could not help but become discouraged. And because we were being told from every corner almost that this bloodbath was about to happen. I mean, I'm looking at some of the quotes in this article. There isn't a single poll in America that has Herschel Walker anything but ahead. Not one. And then they go on to say, seats that are thought to be competitive, Mehmet Oz will beat John Fetterman, it says right here. And not just by a point or two. So let's hope that this article continues to be totally wrong, because it goes on to say that Adam Laxalt looks pretty certain to defeat Democratic Senator Catherine Cortez Masto in Nevada. And Blake Masters in Arizona will be carried into office. Now, none of these are called, but Masters is trailing and Laxalt is trailing. And then they talk about potential blowouts like Kerry Lake for governor and J.D. Vance in Ohio and Don Bolduc in New Hampshire. He got creamed. Kerry Lake has not won, and J.D. Vance did not run away with it, even in Ohio. So anyway, if you read an article like that, and there it was, wow. So why do they never seem to learn, media, from these humiliations of their total wrongness? I like to think I learn. I am by nature a pessimist, so I can't help myself. And it's because I think I'd rather prepare for the worst. This is my mindset. I'd rather prepare for the worst and be happily surprised, like what I was last night and this morning, than think I was going to win and then lose. I mean, I guess I'd rather have, mourn prior and be proven wrong. I'd rather eat crow. Crow is actually very good. It tastes a bit like chicken, which is to say it doesn't taste like anything. Little Tony writes, I didn't watch any TV coverage last night. Good man. I consider that TV coverage a form of torture. You are absolutely right. This morning, I was pleasantly surprised, to say the least. I am so glad Fetterman won, because I just wasn't sure what was going to happen. The thought of having Senator Oz. Oh, my God. Can you imagine we dodged that bullet? The ignominy of being represented for the next 6 years by that snake oil salesman. Gee. Lisa Cunningham, the former editor of Pittsburgh City Paper, tweeted out this morning. I just love her. Tweeted out, "Thank you, Snooki." And if you don't get that, it's because Snooki from the New Jersey, what was that show? See, I don't get it. Snooki from that tawdry television show was doing anti-Oz pieces, trolling him for Fetterman, because she's absolute quintessential New Jersey. And she knows a New Jersey, and when she sees one, and that's Mehmet Oz. Oh, here's an email I got at 8:30 this morning, but I didn't see it until 9:15, which it was too late for me. "I'm a senior journalist at the BBC. We're looking at our coverage today for our global listeners, and we're hoping to speak to you at 16:15 GMT. What time is that our time? I'm serious, I don't know. That's Greenwich M time. Greenwich, I don't know what the M stands for. At 16:15 GMT, we will have Martha Zoller, a radio talk show host and conservative, on our program, 2 M's and an E, from Georgia. We're looking for a talk show host with a more liberal bent to join her in conversation to share reaction to the outcome of the midterms. It would not take up more than 15 minutes of your time. I know you are scheduled to go on air soon, but if this is something that may interest you, pop me a message with your number so I can give you a quick call. And with thanks, Krupa Padi, BBC World News." What's 16:50 GMT? What time is that our time? Anyway, I didn't. I couldn't. It would have been fun. No one's going to tell me what 16:15 GMT is. Actually, I could just Google it. Okay. And what else do I have here? Not much. The voters of Louisiana refused in the election last night to ban all forms of slavery. Why am I laughing? The voters of Tennessee had the same thing on their ballot, and they actually, Tennessee actually decided, maybe we should say you can't have any slavery. And this had to do, I think we brought this up on the show a week or so ago, with the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, which outlawed slavery. But there was a little caveat. It allowed it for prisoners. So you could take prison labor and work them to death, chain gangs and all that, and pay them not a cent, and that's slavery. And so there were a number of states that were finally going to say, we're opting out of that. And I didn't hear what the other states did, except for Tennessee saying, okay, all right, we're not even going to enslave. We torture them enough, the prisoners. But Louisiana voters, given the choice, said, no. Let's keep on. Slavery. We love it. We love it. Oh my. So in this hour, has any other news come in? All right. So it's going to be and what we haven't heard yet, at least, Greenwich Mean Time. That's right. And it's 11:50 here. Oh. So I could have maybe done it after the show. Well, Shit. It's probably too late. I'm sure they've gotten somebody else. Thank you, though, Milton. It's 11:50 here. What else? I'm sorry. My head is. Hey, Elon Musk. Ha ha ha. He actually tweeted out telling everybody to vote Republicans in. What a clown he is. What a clown. I feel like he reminds me of that Charlie Chaplin film where he takes on Hitler. You know, he's dressed as Hitler and he's doing this marvelous ballet with a balloon that is the globe of the world. And he's kicking it around and catching it. And that's how I think of Elon Musk. That much of a megalomaniac, that he thinks his wealth means that he's a genius, which is not correct. It means he made some really good calculations at some point, and he's a good entrepreneur in that respect. But anyone who's paying attention to every time he makes a foray into global politics trying to run Twitter, you see that the guy doesn't have a friggin' clue. But he thinks he's brilliant. I mean, he is literally incoherent. He turns on a dime. He bought Twitter and he's going to destroy it. Advertisers are running, people are dropping, and he's blaming cancel culture. Yeah, it's our fault. It's leftists. As far as I can tell, corporations like GM and all these other major corporations that have pulled their ads away, which is the only way he's going to make any money, they don't jump when leftists tell them to jump. They look at their business and what's going to be good for it and what's not going to be good for it. And they are deciding that Elon Musk, on top of this major social network, is not something that's going to go well. It's going to be ugly and chaotic, and they don't want to be on it. It has nothing to do with some lefties saying boycott Twitter. It has nothing to do with that. But he's too stupid to know it. God, I don't know. He has become, I haven't even thought of Jeff Bezos in so long. He was my most hated billionaire for so long. And boy, has he been supplanted. It doesn't even cross my mind. Because he at least is capable of a little more restraint. I mean, I'm sure he's the same megalomaniac, but restraint. Yeah. Thanks, Ed. Ed's telling me it's 11:50. Yeah. Well, too bad. I could have been on the BBC in 50 minutes, but I'm not doing it. Lost my chance. I wonder who that woman is. I would have been taking some friggin' right-wing talk show host from Georgia. Oh, God. Oh, it's too late. Well, I can find out. Anyway, it is too late. My show's done. Hey, thank you all for being there. And woo! let's hope the rest of the day goes as well. And I think what I was going to say that I didn't is we haven't yet, as far as I know, seen the election deniers, the refusal to concede stuff. Have we seen much of that? I don't know. But let us not feel that we're going to escape without a lot of that if the Republicans continue to lose. So that'll be unpleasant. But tomorrow we'll have more information. We'll be able to talk some more, and I'm going to look forward to it. And I'm going to enjoy these last few wonderful, sunny, gorgeous days before the winter comes on this weekend. So enjoy it as well. And thank you. We had a good election. Yes.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.